Nigeria's main opposition, People's Democratic Party, potentially stands to lose its traditional stranglehold on Rivers State, depending on the outcome or resolution of the political conflict that brought about last week's state of emergency in the state. To make matters even more ominous, there seems to be a rapidly diminishing window for the party to maneuver its way out of what many have called self-inflicted jeopardy. All things being equal, Nigeria's next general election, planned for February 2027, a little less than 2 years henceforth. Currently, internal strife appears to be the order of the day in the party, as can be seen from the conflict over who gets to occupy its national secretary position, despite a clear decision of the Supreme Court of Nigeria on the matter. But is it all looking down? Is there a functional plank upon which any meaningful efforts at reconciliation can be built? Joining us now to look into all of that is Judge Turnah, PDP's acting zonal secretary for the South-South geopolitical region. Good morning and welcome to the morning show, George. Now let's begin with understanding what is going on within the party. Good morning. As it pertains to beginning with the state of emergency that was declared in Rivers State, and how a lot of people would say this came off the back of the issues that exist between the now suspended Governor Fubara, and FCC's Ms. Anyanwu, who is equally a member of your party, and an elder statesman from your party equally stating that Anyanwu has almost disowned the party and has gone against its tenets with regards to what happened in Rivers, with regards to revoking the property that the party uses in the FCT, and then now taking it also back to the Supreme Court judgment on the national secretary position and Wike's involvement in that too. What's really going on with the party, and why does it seem so difficult to maintain a form of relationship that is seamless with Anyanwu at this time?
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and good morning, Nigerians. Well, let me start with the situation in Rivers State. It's unfortunate that things have gone the way they are now. But let's look at it this way. At some point, we had political situations in Rivers State which snowballed into legal battles and then went up to the Supreme Court, and then we had judgments. I think at that level, one can say that it rested some of the issues, the political battle as it were. Now, clearly, I like to assess the Rivers situation as a misunderstanding between the governor, who heads the executive arm, and the State Assembly. I really don't see where Minister Wike comes in. Because it's politics. Yes, you may expect that Wike have its own interest, but it was not clear, whether the issues in Rivers State was about Wike. Clearly, the governor, who heads the executive arm, had a running battle with the legislative arm, and that is it. The state of emergency. If, like I said, the Supreme Court judgment rested a number of the political issues that were there. But we now saw some introduction of violence, statements leading up to actions, clear actions that threatens the economic and corporate existence of this country. I don't think any responsible leadership will sit by. And if you watch the president's speech, he said while these were going on, the threats and then the actions that followed, the chief security officer stayed aloof. We didn't hear any action. We didn't see any action from the governor who should take charge. And even we had the governor speak to violence. That was dangerous. So I look at this state of emergency from the angle of, stopping what should be a disaster rather than the political aspect of it.
All right, please.
So for me, that's my take.
All right.
With the state of emergency in Rivers State. because we don't see tomorrow. So we would not have waited. The president should not have waited. Maybe by today, there will not be a river state. Or, I mean, it will be on fire. Who knows?
All right.
So we really can't tell. The level of intelligence available, to Mr. President, we don't have it at our level. So I don't want to, once it's about security, right, I don't think, the level of opinion that a lot of people have put forward is necessary.
Can we stick to why you are here?
In regards to the state of emergency.
Good morning. Good morning. Can we speak to why you are here?
Yeah.
I don't think I understood your comment as to regarding the infighting within your party. What is the current status of Ude Okoye in your party at this moment? And why is there still this infighting over who gets to occupy its national secretary position? Opinions are divided. I mean, despite the court ruling affirming Samuel Anyanwu as the substantive national secretary of the party. Last Friday, we saw that the national publicity secretary of the party, Debo Ologunagwa, issued a statement saying that the Supreme Court judgment had confirmed Ude Okoye as the national secretary of the party and maintained that the Supreme Court's decision confirmed that leadership matters within the party remain internal affairs beyond the jurisdiction of the courts. We've seen now that the Deputy National Publicity Secretary, because that statement was attributed to him, Ibrahim Abdullahi, he has now debunked that statement, saying that it is fraudulent and that the statement does not reflect the position of the PDP and the NWC. Can you help us unpack this confusion?
Okay. First of all, there's a judgment of the Supreme Court. Now, I'm sure that when the CTC of that judgment comes out, it will be clear to almost all Nigerians what the issues, the position of the Supreme Court is. But let me just say this. I will rest on the statement issued by the National Police Secretary. He said that the party's NWC wrote to the Southeast Caucus, to make a replacement for Anyanwu, who had become the candidate of the party in the governorship election in Imo State. Now, that is not the position of our constitution. There are two articles that they come to play, Article 47 and 48. The 47 is clear that the tenure of office of an elected executive member is 4 years. And then it said that if you are resigning, you may resign in giving notice. Then for the purpose of seeking election, elective office, there is no requirement for resignation. In fact, 48 says that you are deemed to have ceased holding the office in the party once you assume the list, those offices, including the office of governor. Anyanwu never assumed the office of governor of any state. So he was still secretary, national secretary, until the intervention of the Enugu State High Court and, of course, the Court of Appeal. Now, what does the Supreme Court say? There are two fundamental issues. One, the Supreme Court said that the guy who went to court had no locus in the first instance. Then the Supreme Court said the court had no jurisdiction. So you can't build something on nothing. So when you take away the court intervention that removed Anyanwu from office, what do you have? You have Anyanwu back in office. It's simple. Now, the point again is that the Supreme Court have said internal party issues should be left to the party to deal. But the same Supreme Court have consistently emphasized that the party must respect its rules and especially its constitution. So, if Anyanwu was not required by the constitution to resign to seek the office of governor, and he did not resign, there is no evidence that Anyanwu resigned. He did not resign. He was secretary, a journalist will know, even after the Imo governorship election, he continued to function as national secretary until the interventions, the court interventions that came in from Enugu. Now that that court intervention has been set aside by the Supreme Court, it was very clear that the Supreme Court did set aside, those judgments of both the lower court and the court below, which is the Court of Appeal. Now that it has been set aside, there is nothing that prevents Anyanwu from being National Secretary, or there is nothing again, that impedes on Anyanwu continuing his services to the party as National Secretary. And I wonder, I have said it, that the National Public Secretary in recent times, just gives out statements at his convenience, not reflecting the decisions of the NWC. Judgment was given, NWC have not sat, he has issued a statement. He has not even seen the CTC. Look at the confusion in Rivers State. The moment the Supreme Court gave judgment, there were all manner of interpretations, including some even saying that, the issue of defection was not before the Supreme Court. We still have that one in the higher, the Federal High Court is coming up. But when they saw the CTC, it became clear that all issues have been dealt with. One would have expected the National Public Secretary to exercise some restraint and hold on, and even cite what the Supreme Court have said in details, in plain black and white, so you know what to say. So the truth of the matter is that people can play to the gallery, but Anyanwu, by the judgment of the... And remember, the Supreme Court granted his reliefs. What are the reliefs of Anyanwu? The man said, look, I have been unjustly sacked by an order of the State High Court in Enugu, upheld by the Court of Appeal. And say, look, set aside these orders. And the Supreme Court have set aside those orders. It's simple. It's simple. It's that people just want to aggravate our problems and play to the gallery, all in the name of politics. Everything must not be politics. Party administration is a serious business. And one would expect that the National Public Secretary, who is a lawyer, should know better. And operate within the confines of the scope of the duties defined by the Constitution for his office. We need some peace in this party.
All right.
We need to make progress. If Nigerians must take this party seriously as a platform that is ready to provide alternative. We are heading for another election. If PDP truly desires to provide alternative for Nigerians, because the Nigerians are going through a lot, then the kind of things we are seeing will not afford any Nigerian to think towards the party, to look towards the direction of the party. We are not even playing the opposition as it should. There are a lot of issues. Nigerians, look, this country, opposition is not to wake up and abuse the president. You must tackle issues about welfare of the people, government policies that touches on the daily lives and needs of the people. And then you hold government to account. And then you push government to deliver, not to discredit or to damage. You pull government to deliver.
All right, George.
And then you provide alternatives. So people know that you can offer better services to the country.
Okay, George.
So PDP must really sit up. Yeah.
All right, let me come in there. I get your point, exhaustive argument about why PDP needs to sit up and play the role of opposition that is meant to play. But two questions for me very quickly, George. First will be to know what your thoughts are as to what is next. Where does PDP go from here? You have said that maybe people will need to wait for the CTC of the judgment to actually understand the correct letter of the ruling. When that comes out, what happens from the secretariat of the party? Who will enforce the judgment in whichever way that you think that it will mean that Anyanwu will have to return, shall we say, as the general secretary of the party? What next? And what will make that direction that you are painting, what will make it happen? Then the second part of the question will be to return to the thoughts that you expressed on the state of emergency that was declared in Rivers State. My thinking would be that a lot of people might be surprised that your good self as the acting secretary of the party in a region that is dominated by the PDP seems to be siding with a declaration of state of emergency that has dismantled democratic institutions. I would like you to be very clear as to what your position is. Is this about Wike? Because on the cover of This Day Today, Anyanwu is saying that it is his relationship with Wike that caused the gang up against him. I'm using that example because of the fact that governors in your party do not prefer Anyanwu. Wike seems to do. And then in Rivers State, Wike's position, of course, we suppose will be that he is totally against the governor. Are you therefore towing every line that Wike toes as to explain why you are now saying that the president's intervention was necessary because the situation in Rivers State could have descended into a far worse reality? Can you make yourself a lot clearer on that scenario?
Okay, thank you. Let me begin with the what way forward, for the party. Like I said, once the letters of the judgment becomes very clear, INEC, of course, the regulatory commission, will ensure that the writing is done. If Anyanwu is national secretary, that is it. INEC will not honor, of course, any communication that is not endorsed by the right signatories, of the party. So that is not an issue. The rest of it, whether governors like Anyanwu or not, is politics. Politics, like I've always said, is interest. This, the Anyanwu and indeed all members of the working committee were elected by the governors and the members of delegates of the party, at a convention, that everybody expressed their right to choose leaders for the party. So, and the constitution is very clear. Once an officer is elected, there are procedures. If you want him out, you follow the procedure. The party must be seen as, a party that respects its own rules and then play by the rule of law. So that is it. I know that Anyanwu is back and he's back in office. He was at the party secretariat, and you could see the joy, and the feelings of staff and all of the people there. But that is rested. Now, on the case of Rivers State, maybe I wasn't gotten clearly. If you ask me if I endorse or I like the state of emergency declared in Rivers State, my answer may be different. But what I said was that after the political, I tried to make a demarcation. We had political crisis in Rivers State that metamorphosed into legal battles, right? Which traveled up to the Supreme Court, and then we got judgment. To me, that was rested. The Supreme Court judgments, whether you like it or not, they are to be obeyed and implemented.
Okay, Mr. George.
Now, following that, can I just make this point?
Yes, go ahead.
Following from that point, we had threats, to violence, statements that suggest, that the corporate existence of Nigeria, Rivers State is very important, economically, politically, and otherwise. And that the governor himself was caught on tape, also making statements suggestive of a possible violence. Now, beyond the realm of statements, Nigerians woke up to real action. We saw flames. Now, what I'm saying is that no responsible leader, and remember I said the level of intelligence available to Mr. President, I don't have it. No ordinary Nigerian will have it. So I'm saying that, assuming the intervention of Mr. President didn't come, we won't know what would have happened as of today. That is why it's difficult for me, to specifically take a position on the state of emergency because it has to do with security. It has to do with security. When it was just political disagreements, we didn't see state of emergency. We didn't see. You know, so my take is that I may not be happy as a party man. It affects me and it affects my party. We are the party in power. Both the governor and the legislators are of our party. You know, and when they were disagreeing, we made several efforts. And that is why I said, look, if the governor and the assembly were working, you know, in tandem and then working towards realizing the goal of governance in Rivers State, what will you call him Wike's name? Right. If the governor and his assembly, the legislature, they are in good terms and working for the interest of Rivers people, there won't be a need to call him Wike. In as much as I'm concerned, the political conflict in Rivers State was between the governor and the state assembly.
All right.
And the state assembly, and
okay,
people
so
may pretend about it. Wike, yes, as a figure. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
That's fine. That's fine. We appreciate it, and we really have to put it there. Thank you very much, George.